The story of Adam and Eve seems simple: a perfect paradise, a single rule, a cunning serpent, and the fall of humanity. But was that really all? What if this story hides a secret that few people notice? Why did God place a forbidden tree if he knew what would happen? Did the serpent deceive Eve, or did it merely reveal something that was already inside her? And what if this was not a mistake but part of a much greater plan? Get ready, because what you're about to discover might completely change the way you see this story, and perhaps even your own life. Imagine a place where hunger didn't exist, pain was an unknown concept, and nature itself bent to serve humankind. The Garden of Eden wasn't just a paradise, it was the symbol of God's perfect creation. Adam and Eve walked freely among crystal-clear rivers, fruit-bearing trees, and peaceful animals. No worries, no fears, no conflicts. Just harmony. But was this perfection an unconditional gift? Or did it conceal a test greater than they could imagine? At the center of this paradise stood the most intriguing rule: a single untouchable tree. The knowledge of good and evil rested in its branches like a divine riddle. To many, this restriction seems contradictory. If God desired a world without sin, why allow a choice that could destroy everything? The answer to this mystery may lie in the true purpose of freedom. Was the Garden of Eden truly an absolute gift or a disguised proving ground? What Adam and Eve didn't know was that all this peace was about to be challenged. In the heart of Eden lurked a whisper, a cunning gaze, a subtle presence that would forever change the fate of humanity. But who was this shadowy figure? And why was it so interested in a simple fruit? The answer may lie in the biblical serpent, and in what it was about to do. Amid so much abundance and freedom, there was only one restriction: do not eat the forbidden fruit. God allowed Adam and Eve to enjoy everything in the Garden of Eden, but imposed this single limit. The tree of the knowledge of good and evil was not just any tree. It represented something far greater. But why? If God knew what would happen, why place it there? This detail raises an intriguing question. Did humanity truly have a choice, or was it always destined to fall? The answer may lie in the true meaning of free will. Without the possibility of making a mistake, would obedience have any value? God didn't create programmed robots to follow orders, but beings capable of making decisions. However, this choice came with eternal consequences. Eating the fruit meant crossing an invisible line, a line that separated innocence from awareness, paradise from reality. And this was a choice that required more than simple obedience. It demanded understanding. But before they could reflect on the implications of this rule, something happened. An unexpected visitor appeared, bringing a new perspective. Its words were seductive, its logic seemed harmless, and its presence was strangely familiar. Who or what was this mysterious entity? And more importantly, how did it manage to plant doubt in Eve's heart? The answer leads us to the first great act of manipulation in human history. And then, the serpent appeared. But this was no ordinary serpent. It didn't just move along the ground, it walked through Eve's mind, weaving words that challenged everything she knew. With a soft and persuasive voice, it asked the question that would change the fate of humanity. Did God really say that? This detail is crucial because the serpent didn't attack directly, it planted doubt. And where there is doubt, there is vulnerability. The dialogue between Eve and the serpent was the first great example of persuasion in history. Instead of simply saying, "Eat the fruit," the serpent did something much more clever. It suggested that God was hiding something. "You will not certainly die. On the contrary, your eyes will be opened, and you will be like God, knowing good and evil." Do you see the wordplay? Instead of a prohibition, it transformed the forbidden fruit into an opportunity, a hidden secret that Eve now felt the need to uncover. And so, the first great manipulation happened. The serpent didn't force Eve to eat the fruit, it simply made her question. The desire grew, the doubt became unbearable, and the rule that once seemed clear now felt like an obstacle to something greater. But Eve hesitated. For a moment, she considered the consequences. What if this was a mistake? What if it was all a test? But before she could answer, impulse overcame reason. She reached out, and then everything changed. Eve's fingers touched the smooth skin of the forbidden fruit. The sweet aroma filled the air, and the serpent's promise still echoed in her mind. It seemed harmless, almost irresistible. One bite. That's all it took. In that instant, something inside her changed. It wasn't a thunderclap, nor an earthquake, but a sudden and intense feeling, as if an invisible curtain had been torn before her eyes. For the first time, she saw herself in a new and terrifying way. But Eve didn't want to go through this alone. She looked at Adam, who until then had only observed, perhaps confused, perhaps hesitant. What went through his mind at that moment? Fear, curiosity, or the fear of losing Eve to something he didn't yet understand? Whatever the answer, he took the fruit and ate it. It wasn't an impulsive act like Eve's. It was a decision. He knew what he was doing, and yet he chose. And this raises an intriguing question. Was it just disobedience, or was there something deeper behind this act? And then, Eden's silence felt different. The wind blew strangely, the shadows seemed darker. Something was wrong, but they didn't yet know exactly what. They only had one certainty. Something had been broken. But what had changed? Why did they suddenly feel shame? Why, for the first time, did they feel fear? And, above all, why did they want to hide? The answer was about to come, but not in the way they expected.
What if you could attract everything you desire? Success, prosperity, and the life of your dreams are within your reach. Discover how to use the law of attraction the right way and transform your reality once and for all. Access now. The link is in the description and the pinned comment.
The air grew heavy. Adam and Eve looked at each other and noticed something strange. They were naked. They always had been, but now it felt different. Innocence disappeared in an instant, replaced by a feeling never experienced before. Shame. Shame of themselves. Shame of each other. Something inside them had awakened, and the tranquility of the Garden of Eden had turned into unbearable restlessness. What once was natural now felt exposed. Desperate, they ran to cover their bodies with fig leaves, trying to hide what had never needed to be hidden. But something even more disturbing was about to happen. The sound of footsteps echoed through the garden. It was a familiar presence, but this time, instead of bringing peace, it sent a chill of fear through them. God was calling them. Where are you? But did he really not know? Or did he simply want them to admit what they had done? And then came the most instinctive decision, to hide. For the first time, they felt afraid of God. Something had changed not only within them but in how they saw their Creator. This encounter would not be like the others. This time, there would not just be communion. There would be confrontation. But how would they explain what they had done? How would they justify their choice? The answer to that question would define not only their fate but the fate of all humanity. Adam and Eve were hiding among the trees, like children who had broken something valuable and didn't know how to fix it. But the Creator was not deceived. He knew where they were, knew what they had done. Still, he asked, "Who told you that you were naked? Have you eaten from the tree that I commanded you not to eat from?" The question carried more than just an accusation. It was an invitation to truth. But truth is not always easy to face. Adam's response was immediate and surprising. He didn't take responsibility. Instead, he pointed to Eve. "The woman you gave me, she gave me the fruit, and I ate it. Do you see what happened?" In a single moment, Adam shifted the blame to Eve, and indirectly to God himself. "If you hadn't given me this woman, this wouldn't have happened." And Eve followed the same path. "The serpent deceived me, and I ate." The first blame game in human history had begun. But God was not interested in excuses. Judgment came swiftly. The serpent was cursed, Eve would face pain in childbirth, and Adam would toil endlessly to survive. The Garden of Eden was no longer a paradise. It was now a place of departure. But before they left, God did something unexpected. An act of mercy in the midst of judgment. And this raises an important question. Had he completely abandoned humanity? Or was there still a greater plan in motion? Adam and Eve turned for one last look at the Garden of Eden. The place where they had once lived in perfect communion with God was no longer accessible. Their hearts were heavy, and the certainty that they would never return was painful. But what lay ahead? They didn't know. They only felt the weight of consequence. The perfect life was over. Before they left, God did something unexpected. He gave them garments of skin, a detail that might go unnoticed but carried deep meaning. For the first time, blood was shed to cover humanity's mistake. Was this a foreshadowing of what was to come? A clue that, even in punishment, there was a plan for redemption? One thing was certain: God had not completely abandoned them, but the separation was inevitable. And then, the gates closed. A cherubim with a flaming sword guarded the entrance, ensuring that no one would ever return. But had Eden truly ceased to exist? Or had it merely been placed beyond human reach? The story seemed to have ended, but perhaps there was still more. After all, what if this had been part of a greater plan all along? Adam and Eve fell into the serpent's trap, or did they? What if this was more than just simple disobedience? From the beginning, God knew that humans would have free will. He knew they might choose wrongly. So why put the tree in the garden? To many, it seems like a trap. But what if, instead, it was a test? Not to condemn them, but to reveal something essential about humanity. Did the serpent truly deceive Eve, or did it awaken something that was already inside her? The desire to know more, to understand beyond what was allowed. Curiosity is not a sin, but it can lead to dangerous paths when it strays from its original purpose. Adam and Eve wanted to be like God, but they failed to realize that they were already made in His image. The desire for more blinded them to what they already had. But what if they had never eaten the fruit? Would they still be in Eden today, in a world without pain or suffering? Or would humanity have found another way to fall? What does this story reveal about us? The truth is, we continue to face the same dilemma. Follow divine guidance or give in to the seduction of the unknown. But what about the Garden of Eden? Did it really disappear? Or could it still be somewhere? If the Garden of Eden was a physical place, where did it go? The Bible says that God placed a cherubim with a flaming sword to guard its entrance. But was Eden destroyed, or was it simply hidden from humanity? Some theories suggest that it still exists, concealed somewhere on Earth. But if so, why has it never been found? Archaeologists have attempted to locate traces of the original paradise. Some believe it could be in Mesopotamia, where rivers mentioned in the Bible, such as the Tigris and the Euphrates, still flow. Others suggest that Eden was never just a physical location but a spiritual realm, a place that transcends human geography. The truth is, no one has found concrete evidence of its existence. Could we be searching in the wrong place? And what if Eden was not just a place, but a state of being? A symbol of the complete connection between God and humanity, a type of paradise that can be restored in a different way. If so, this changes everything. Perhaps Eden was never lost forever, but the way to access it is very different from what we imagine. And this leads us to an even more intriguing question. What does this story really mean for us today? Thousands of years have passed, but have we really changed? Adam and Eve were not just the first humans. They were a reflection of our own nature. The desire for more, the insatiable curiosity, the tendency to blame others for our mistakes. All of this is still present in each of us. The original sin was not just an isolated act. It was the beginning of a cycle that continues to this day. How often do we make decisions without considering the consequences? How often do we believe in seductive promises that, in the end, are not what they seemed? The modern world is full of forbidden fruits, promises of easy success, shortcuts that seem harmless but lead us away from what truly matters. And just as Eve was persuaded by the serpent, today we are influenced by forces that make us question fundamental values. But what if this story is not just about the fall, but about redemption? If God already knew that humanity would fall, did He also have a plan to restore it? The story of Adam and Eve still echoes in humanity, and the question remains the same. Will we repeat the same mistakes, or will we learn from them? What does it truly mean to return to Eden? Perhaps the answer is closer than we think. Were Adam and Eve deceived, or did they make a choice? This story still resonates today because, deep down, we continue to face the same challenges. How often are we seduced by irresistible promises? How often do we trade what is right for what seems easier or more advantageous? The serpent may have changed its form, but its strategies remain the same. The real question is not just about the past, but about the present. What would have happened if they had never eaten the fruit? Would they have lived forever in a perfect world? Or would humanity have still found a way to fall? The real mystery of this story is not just in what happened, but in what we can still learn from it. And you? What are the forbidden fruits in your life today? What choices have been shaping your destiny? If this story teaches us anything, it is that every decision has consequences. And in the end, we are the ones who choose which path to follow. If you enjoyed this content and want to keep exploring stories that make you think, subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications, and join us on this journey of discovery.